Hello, and welcome to the second session in our series on Greek history and civilization. Today, I want to talk about Sparta and Athens, the two most powerful and best known Greek states of the 5th century BC, and to ask why they were so different from one another, despite sharing a language and a religion and a common cultural background. The title of the lecture matters. These were not simply rival states, they were contrasting societies, organised on fundamentally different principles and representing sharply different answers to the question of how a Greek community should live. Let us move on from my artificial intelligence generated image of a meeting of the Athenian assembly. Let's move to the slides proper. And as this first slide makes clear, the period we are concerned with is broadly that of the Greco-Persian Wars and their aftermath. This is the moment when Athens emerges as what is often called the cradle of democracy, and when Sparta appears, both to contemporaries and to later writers, as the epitome of military discipline. The aim of this lecture is not to praise one society and condemn the other. Well, I suppose it is really, but let's wait and see how it turns out. Nor is it to treat either as a simple model. Instead, it is to understand how and why two Greek states operating within the same wider civilization developed in such radically different ways. It is also important to stress from the outset that neither Athens nor Sparta represents Greek civilization as a whole. Each is a partial, though extreme, and highly distinctive case. Let us begin with Sparta. The image on this slide is deliberately rural, I suppose you could call it. I took this when I went with my wife and daughter to the Peloponnese a few years ago. The ruins you see are not of Sparta. Those ruins that you see are of Mistra, a medieval Byzantine city which was built into a mountain at a time when the coastal cities had become indefensible. But having got halfway up the mountain, I looked back over the plain, and there was where Sparta used to be. Even if I were to have taken a close-up photograph, you would see no grand acropolis, no monumental civic centre, no obvious display of wealth or artistic ambition. The absence is revealing. Sparta was not a state in the usual ancient Greek sense. It was not a state with a city at its heart. Its capital, such as you can call it, was a scattered group of villages without city walls, without a dense urban core, and without any of the architectural self-advertisement that characterized many other Greek cities. This physical austerity reflects something deeper. Sparta was a society that deliberately rejected luxury and display and cultural experimentation. Its values were military discipline, military obedience, endurance, and military effectiveness. Everything else was subordinate to those aims. As we shall see later in the lecture, this was not a matter of accident or of poverty, but of conscious social choice. Now, contrast that image with Athens, represented here by the Acropolis, also taken when we were in Greece a few years ago. Even at a glance, the difference is obvious. The Acropolis dominates the city physically and symbolically. It proclaims wealth. It proclaims confidence and cultural ambition. It is a statement in stone of what Athens thought itself to be. Athens was a true city with a dense urban centre, with monumental architecture, with public spaces designed for assembly, public spaces designed for assembly, debate, law, religion, and spectacle. It was a society that invested heavily in buildings and art and civic display, not as luxuries, but as expressions of a collective identity. This contrast between Sparta and Athens is not superficial. It points to two radically different attitudes to power, to freedom, to culture, and to the individual. At this stage, it is enough to register the problem. Here are two Greek states, close in geography, and if you put your foot down, you can drive from one to the other along those motorways built with European Union money in about 3 hours. So here are two Greek states, close in geography, with shared gods, with shared myths, with a shared language, and yet organised in completely different ways. One prizes silence and obedience. The other prizes speech and participation. One suppresses individuality, the other encourages it, at least among its own citizens. In the next section, we will look specifically at Athens and examine how its democratic system actually functioned in practice, not as an idealized ancestor of modern democracy, or what we call modern democracy, but as a radical and often unsettling experiment in popular rule.